Hey guys, back for another video number 2. Hopefully be a bit better. I'd like to thank Triple H fan for the plug. I'll plug him back, although I don't have anywhere near as many subscribers as he does, and most of you guys came over from him anyways. But plug him anyways. He's looking to get 200 subscribers by the end of the summer. So here's to that, bud. Hopefully you can get it. On to Bellator 47 live next Saturday from Casino Rama. We've got a couple of the featured fights are Sid Barnier versus Dennis Purick, Darren Krushank versus Sergey Josevic, Bo Harris versus Brian Goldsby, and Daniel Langsbean versus Will Romero. Just a bunch of Canadian kids that are in and around the area trying to make a name for themselves. Now on to the televised fights. We've got a lightweight fight with Chris Saunders versus Chris Hordecki. Heavyweight special attraction is Zach Jensen versus Neil Grove. Featherweight semifinal number 1 is Nazareno Malagari versus Marlo Sandro. And the other featherweight semifinal is Pat Curran versus Ronnie Mann. Now, my buddy Jason Sago, his name doesn't seem to be appearing on a card right now, so maybe he was a last-minute replacement. I'm not too sure, but I was informed from one of my instructors that he is fighting on the card. He's currently 2-0, looking to go 3-0, so hopefully he can get that. Now on to UFC, the next one would be 133, Evans versus Ortiz. Originally supposed to be Evans versus Davis. Sorry, his name completely slipped me. It was originally supposed to be Evans versus Davis, but Davis had to pull out due to a knee injury that he suffered during training, so they offered to Tito. Tito originally declined, but then after Machida declined, they went back to ask Tito again. He said, sure, let's go for it. I'm going to have to pull for Evans on that one. Never really been a big fan of Tito. I think he runs his mouth way too much and doesn't put up enough to warrant running his mouth as much as he does. I mean, he's a good fighter. He won all of his fights against Ken Shamrock, which I thought was pretty impressive. I'm not a big Tito fan, but for me that was actually pretty impressive. So I was always been a Shamrock fan since his first days in the UFC, and followed in WWE, and then back to UFC. So here's to hopefully Evans knocking out Tito or making him tap, but I can see it going all 3 rounds. And then I still have to say Evans versus via unanimous. As for the Bellator, I'll keep you guys up to date on those results as best as I can remember them. And I know you guys may not have heard of many of those names or any of them, but as I said before, they're all up-and-comers trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get themselves noticed by Dana White in the UFC or promotions like that, like Strikeforce, if it's still going to be around for a bit longer or not, as they're starting to dissolve some of their guys into UFC. Take Nick Diaz. I don't know if any of you have heard, I'm sure you probably have by now, but he has forfeited his Strikeforce welterweight championship in order to challenge George in Vegas. I can't remember what pay-per-view it is, but it will be in Vegas, and it will be for George's welterweight championship, and he is taking on Nick Diaz for the UFC welterweight championship. I'm obviously going to have to pull for George on that one. Hopefully he has a really good camp, studies Nick's game really well, and just takes him down, grinds out a victory. Would be nice to see him finish the fight, as he is starting to get a little boring, grinding out his victories in unanimous. I mean, it's good to show off his ability to do that, but we also want to see Flashy George back, knocking people out, maybe submitting some people like he used to before. I think it's a good matchup for the two of them, but I think George has the better style realistically. They're both BJJ blacks, both Gracie black belts, but George, I can't remember offhand which Gracie he originally trained under, but as many as you know, Nick Diaz, along with his brother Nate Diaz, uh, the Strikeforce lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez, and Jake Shields are all in the camp together under Cesar Gracie. And the three of the four of them being black belts, and Cesar Gracie is not one to just hand out black belts at random. He makes you really earn your black belt. So I think, personally, my opinion is that Diaz does have the better jiu-jitsu game than George, as Diaz has proven that he can submit people, he can knock you out, he'll grind out a victory over you. Whereas George used to kind of finish the guys, but you've never really seen George submit a guy. I mean, his fight against, what's his name, Dan Hardy, he got him an armbar and a Kimura, but Hardy just refused to tap. The armbar didn't look too tight, but it looked tight enough to probably do a bit of damage. So, would be nice to see George finish off Diaz, but I can see it going all 5 rounds and George pulling off the victory there, hopefully. Anyways, as Steve said, I do know my fair share of MMA news and everything. I tend to keep myself up to date. And the reason I know a bit about it is because I do train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, otherwise known as Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I'm currently a blue belt, making my way up the ranks, competed here and there. I've got myself 3 bronzes so far, so hopefully next one I get silver, maybe even a gold would be nice. Anyways, that is it for me, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.